I have always been a huge fan of the anime physique aesthetic. And I'm not talking about people like Armstrong. I'm talking about people like Zoro, like Garou, like Jin-Woo. Super cut, super shredded. And if they put on a shirt, and I mean a real shirt, not one that is 10 sizes too small, you'd never guess that they worked out. Today I'd like to check out some of those physiques, break them down and find out how you too can achieve them with the minimum amount of exercises and the minimum amount of equipment. So if you're ready, let's go and have some fun. Now when we look at those anime physiques, there is one thing that puts everything together, the piece de résistance, the thing that molds everything into the perfect shape, and that is for almost all of them, the absurd spread of their lats. Building wider lats, especially in combination with very tight hips, gives us this V-shaped form that tickles our aesthetic pleasure center. And of course, while there is almost no other exercise as amazing at building lats, like the classic overhand grip pull-up combined with the lateral or unilateral pulling motion of the archer pull-up, there are other exercises you can do. The reverse barbell row, an exercise that you do not really need a squat rack for or a pull-up bar, because you can just as easily use a chair or a table for that. If you could let your imagination run for just a second, and you imagine this here being your table, you can just lay down beneath it, grab the Tischplatte, I can't really remember what it's called in English, just like so, and start pulling towards it as closely as you can. And very important, extend your arms fully and lengthen your lats all the way before you pull up one more time, because we want to maximize the range of motion of our lat engagement. And the greatest thing with the reverse barbell row is of course the ease with which you can progress, because the higher the bar, the less demanding the exercise will be. And of course lowering the bar will now make the exercise much harder. And it doesn't even stop there, because once you are close enough to the ground that your back is almost touching, now you can start elevating your feet, making the pull even more demanding. And of course that is very helpful when you have a table, because most of the time you won't be able to adjust its height, and therefore just elevating your feet is going to help you progress. And of course with the reverse barbell row helping you develop the necessary strength and coordination to go through real pull-ups. And once you can do that, your go-to will be a very wide overhand grip, just like so you can actually spread those lats as much as possible, and to increase difficulty, increase resistance, and help us build this nice shape, because we are targeting pretty much every single muscle fiber in our back and requiring even more full body control and tension. The archer pull-up is absolutely a must if you want to develop that amazing strength and control that goes hand in hand with having this shredded anime style physique. Now, of course, the widespread lats will mean absolutely nothing if you do not have the second very dominant feature, which is rounded capped shoulders, which will give even more of an illusion of being wider than you actually are, because if you are super lean, then you will look a little bit wider and a little bit more massive than you are. There is one exercise that can help you build nicely rounded and very defined shoulders and strong shoulders with zero equipment, while the classic push-up is very chest dominant and only includes the tiniest bit of our anterior delts, which is very nice to round up our chest in conjunction with our shoulders. If you want to target them directly, you should be working on the pike push-up, not only because it'll help you build massive amount of strength in your shoulders and help you define your arms as well, but it'll also give you an amazing bonus of posterior chain flexibility, because the closer you move with your feet towards your hands, the more shoulder dominant this exercise will become. But that also means that more flexibility is needed in our posterior chain to make this exercise as effective as it can be. And of course, the cheat code for that cannot be anything other than working with elevation. Because if we elevate our knees and start extending our back right above our arms, this will be very shoulder dominant, but a little bit easier than the variation where we extend our legs and place our feet on the elevation, requiring even more strength, even more control, and even more body tension to go through the entire movement. And this way you can already play around with this exercise until you are flexible enough to do it on the floor. And then if you can put it together with the next pushing variation, you will already have taken care of 90% of your upper body. And that is the Mike Tyson push-up, not only very shoulder and arm dominant and adding the tiniest bit of back and trap engagement as well, but this exercise puts a lot of emphasis on our core, which brings us to the next facet of these anime physiques. Yes, legs next to a wide back and capped shoulders, the absurdly defined abdominals, and I'm not talking 6-packs, I'm talking 8-packs, hell, I'm talking like 16-packs with their obliques basically going through striations like it's nobody's goddamn business. You'd have to diet like crazy to get this shredded, but when it comes to the exercises, just working on a single one could be pretty much everything you need, and that's an exercise with zero equipment as well, and that would be the classic L-sit, because developing the necessary strength, control and body tension for the L-sit will require you to work a ton on your core strength and your core development. And if you want to go through this exercise step by step, you can check out this video where we go through the entire tutorial so you can start working on your perfect L-sit. But until you get there, there are a handful of other exercises you can do, and one category of exercises that will help you immensely with that, and those are weighted rotational core exercises. You can either use a kettlebell with standing exercises, left side to the right side to the left side, rotations left to right, so we can include as much obliques as we can. The same thing goes for, instead of a lateral flexion and those very simple movements, you can start adding rotations in your lateral flexion as well. And once you start increasing the weight, this will become very exhausting, but also very effective. But another super effective piece of equipment in that category, classic cable machine, allowing us for insanely long ranges of motion in the rotation and basically moving into all directions while adding the tiniest bit of stabilization when it comes to the resistance behind us, so we can work more on focusing on our core instead of having to work on a lot of stabilization through our rotators. But if you want to stay on the calisthenics train, we've got minimum effort single-sided knee raises, basically one of the easiest leg raise exercises you can do. Then double-sided controlled knee raises, double-sided extended leg raises. Then of course, moving through the entire range of motion, adding a lot of lower abdominals and start giving us this nice, what is it called? Cum gutters. Those cum gutters, adding rotational movements, both with bent knees as well as extended legs. And that brings us to one of the things that I enjoy most about training, and that sadly most people do not think about when it comes to the anime physique, and that is leg musculature. While most of them have mediocre looking legs, when it comes to mass, they are not only super defined, but they are also super powerful, with most of them basically being able to jump over skyscrapers and accelerate like a goddamn Lamborghini, which is super hard if you have weak legs. But that also means that bodyweight exercises, especially the slow twitch ones, will not be enough to help us build those explosive strong legs. We will have to add fast twitch movement patterns. So instead of doing classic squats, it's time to add jumping squats and increase your range of motion, moving faster and faster, adding low double-sided box jumps, adding low single-sided box jumps forward and backwards, and adding super high explosive box jumps, as high as you can jump, to build a tiny bit more mass, but to build a fuck ton of explosiveness. Same with jumping forward and jumping backwards. And one of the exercises that will help you cursing your ancestors, even though they're one of the most effective ones, jumping exercises that are close to the floor. And this will help you build massive control and massive strength. And you can also start adding some weight to those. Jumping asymmetrically from one side to the other and adding more and more resistance with faster and more explosive movements. While this is a little bit more of an athletic approach to building leg musculature, it is also one that is a little bit more functional when it comes to our day-to-day life. Now, these are just a handful of exercises for the more prominent muscle groups in those aesthetics. These should be more than enough, not only to get you started, but also to help you progress somewhat to the intermediate or even advanced level if you can work on correct, and I mean correct for you, periodization, frequency, and volume. And most importantly, stay consistent with it. And if you can dial in your diet, get into a tiny calorie deficit of 50 to a maximum of 150 calories and maintain that for the course of however long is necessary for you to start seeing those shredded muscles, because that is going to be different from person to person depending on the amount of fat you have. Then you'll start looking like Garou, even if it takes the tiniest bit longer than the average person. Now, I would have loved to go much more into detail, but this video already took far longer than I anticipated. Let me know if you're interested in more of that content. If you like the video, like the video, and come on, join us. We almost do stuff like that every single day, which means that I'll probably see you tomorrow. So until then, Captain Cairo, peace out.